Hey everybody, Tom Barnes, Stories from the 78. And this truly is something that's not just here in Chicago, it's all over the country. And it's a big event here in Chicago this weekend. There's a movie premiering, a documentary, Carol Doda, and the Topless at the Condor in San Francisco. It's premiering at the Landmark Century Theater here in Chicago, but they're doing something very unique and awesome. They're having a burlesque show prior to the screenings, and that's where I have my friend Tara and also my friend Hot Tawdry. How are you, ladies?
Great. How are you? Thanks for having us.
Yeah, doing
Absolutely.
great. Thank you.
So, I forgive me, I didn't know much about Carol and what she did all those years ago. Like 1964, there wasn't burlesque dancing or any of a kind or at least not legally, I guess. I don't know. There probably was in some places, but it wasn't known like how she made it known there in California during like the Republican National Convention, which is so awesome that she did it during that time, but really started paving the way for women to take control of their bodies and deciding how they want to, express themselves, right?
Yeah, she definitely was a trailblazer in that way, being the first ever topless dancer as well as bottomless. Yeah, so in San Francisco at that time, they were looking for ways to bring people into the club. And there was just kind of a general competition going on in the North Beach area along Broadway. And Carol was just this incredibly charismatic figure that was just very ready to boogie down, and they invited her on stage, and it just so happened to coincide with the release of the monokini. So they asked her to put it on, and she jumped on top of a white baby grand piano and shook what the Lord gave her at that point.
And God-given right? And it's
Yeah.
fantastic. It changed certainly American history, but history in general.
Stripping as well. It's part of it is stripper history, showgirl history, burlesque history. It's all very much uh, akin, as you can agree, I'm sure, Hot Tawdry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. All
They're
intertwined.
very linked and intertwined, and that's what's been really exciting, connecting with people from the Burlesque Hall of Fame and the legends, like having more connection and stories about Carol specifically too.
Yeah, and being involved with this, what have you ladies learned that perhaps you didn't learn about Carol or what she went through in the process? And then please talk about like how you're honoring her by these performances that you have coming up.
Yeah, I feel like my initial exposure to this film, she really reminded me of a character here in New Orleans, Chris Owens, who is like this nightlife impresario and kind of like a real estate tycoon in the French Quarter. The only difference being that Chris Owens vowed to never go topless, and she never did. But it was like having this kind of figure that had such a prolific impact, as well as just Carol's impact, kind of just doing what she was doing, being in her own body and doing what she wanted to do as a performer was in and of itself a political act. And I think a lot of women during that time, and I mean that, this film really elegantly illustrates how, those issues of censorship, of politicizing bodies, and how female and all-bodied people express themselves in a sensual way, or sexuality in general being kind of targeted. It really does bridge between then and now, because those are
Yeah,
still very relevant topics.
absolutely.
So she was like, just finding out about her, because I wasn't aware of her existence before the film, it really it was something I could really attach meaning to, one, as a performer myself, and understanding the gatekeeping aspects of being an artist and what being on stage in your body doing your art can elicit from a crowd, from the public, from anyone that is a viewer. that is taking in that kind of performance, and you know, they're learning from it, they're reacting to it, and it's really profound.
I think that, I mean, it's really well said. Again, I didn't know who Carol Doda was before seeing this film, and then watching the film, I was like, oh wow, it really just, uh, she was kind of the perfect, I guess, mascot for what was going on that time politically, with women's bodies, and still today what's going on with censorship and performing, and how, you know, she was like, I want to be in show business. I am willing to do whatever. And, you know, going topless was like a PR stunt. She was like, yeah, let's do it. I'm just going to go have fun. And then it just kind of exploded, and it was this whole thing. And I think, you know, we see a lot more nudity today in, you know, we have a lot more exposure to it, but it's still very much a political act, and it's still very, can still be very scandalous, and polarizing.
Yeah, it still is to this day. I mean, they're still trying to mess up women's rights, and our government trying to tell women what they can and can't do.
Yeah.
And women got to continue to, no pun intended, stick it to the man, and you know, tell them to knock it off, right? I mean, and that's part of like her, like, you're not going to tell me what to do. This is my body. I'm going to do my thing. Arrest me. I'm going to come back and dance on Tuesday. You know, which is awesome. I love that spirit in people, and that spirit and will be on full display live. Tara, you put it together in Hot Tawdry. You are dancing in the performances. Do you want to explain a little bit of what that's going to look like for folks that are coming to the movie that might not know that this is happening?
Yeah, right. It's a really cool, unique thing that that Tara is doing for, you know, the premiere of all these films all over the country and Canada, is to have a live little burlesque show before the movie, bring in that live entertainment aspect and that live energy of, you know, what it would be like, you know, if you went and saw Carol Doda dancing topless. We will be not nude. Don't worry, there will be no toplessness. We'll be covered selectively, but we're kind of bringing myself, Tila von Twirl, and Sunny Haelstorm are all going to be there, giving you that 60s energy, that 60s vibe, a little Chicago camp action, and just kind of really giving like a special thing that doesn't happen at movie before movies at all. And I love that. Like, let's connect people. Let's get people out to the theater.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's really, go ahead. It's really exciting that it's an event. You know, we were thinking about it in terms of going to a movie can be even more than just buying a ticket and sitting in a theater with other people. It can be something that is engaging the crowd in a way that they can feel like they're part of it and they're being transported. And that was our intent from the beginning, is to create this kind of bridge between Carol's world and ours, and having it reflected in modern setting with modern burlesque dancers, but having this kind of like interplay with, you know, the 60s mod thing. And it's been really interesting. I think one of my favorite aspects of this is because I worked with Gabo to create this audio visual companion that plays behind every single performance. So we're giving the same prompt to all of these different performers all over the United States and in Canada now. And it's so exciting to see what everybody's interpretation of that is. And we're like compiling all that footage as this goes, and really looking forward to like kind of putting it all together and comparing and contrasting to see how people have interpreted this prompt. It's really cool.
Yeah, it seems like almost kind of harkens back to like what vaudeville was back in the day, right? You know, like almost like a modern take on vaudeville, where you're going to the show, as we used to call going to movies years ago. I mean, that's what my grandparents used to call it, and growing up, that's what I knew the movies, going to the show, because of all the things that they experienced from the years of going in the different iterations of, you know, the movie going experience. So having a performance before the performance on the screen is a total like full circle moment. I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
And how long is that whole performance before like the movie? And is that not the movie time? Just so people are like, well, I want to make sure I don't miss
Yeah.
this. How go run through that?
So the way that we have it is it's nestled between the trailer package and the
Ah,
film itself. And so it's kind of like that, vestibule of action before everything
oh, I
kicks
like that's a good
off.
name of a movie.
Yeah.
Vestibule of action. Yes.
So yeah, it's kind of like that primer that gets everybody amped up and ready. And just watching the reactions of the crowds in Los Angeles and San Francisco, it's like very exciting and people are really, engaged and ready to watch this film. So it's like welcoming people into the Condor.
Awesome. And if for folks want tickets, is there a website you want them to go to, or should they go to the movie theater website? What do you want people to do?
They can go to the they can go to the Landmark website. Absolutely. Those tickets are there and available under like it's a special ticket. So it's like a special screening event that you'll look down in the listings. And then also go to caroldodamovie.com and the tickets are also going to be available there, but that's a great place to kind of get to know more about the performers in these Doda-esque burlesque reviews, as well as more about the directors and the movie.
Very cool. And Hot Tawdry, will that information that Tara just talked about be up on there to learn for folks who want to learn about you and where you're dancing and all that kind of fun stuff?
Yeah, I mean, you can go to my Instagram. It'll be up on my Instagram. The Carol Doda link and the Landmark Century link, so people can get tickets to our two shows on Friday and Saturday. I believe it's 7:45 and 10, Friday and Saturday nights. So a little early one, a little late one. The correct information will be up on my Instagram, which is just Hot Tawdry. We'll click the little link there and
we made sure to link all of the performers on caroldodamovie.com. So when you go over to Doda-esque Burlesque, there's a little like toolbar that comes down and it links all the performers in every city too. So it'll go right to your Instagram.
Yeah, thanks.
And Tara, you said that you're producing these events throughout the country in Canada. No pressure, huh? Like to do something like this, right?
Yeah, no, none at all. I feel fresh and relieved. No, it's been great. It's definitely, we're moving fast. The runway's been short, but these performers are so incredible, so professional. Everybody's been so excited and positive with their responses. It's really phenomenal to see how this community shows up, and
I have
especially for this film.
a random question, just and maybe it's two different opinions for both of you ladies, but in terms of like the burlesque scene in the United States, what would you say are some there's Chicago is obviously probably different than New Orleans in terms of burlesque or to LA or to New York. Is that true, or is it kind of the same throughout, or is it very different based on the city?
Very different based on the city. Very different. I think, which is why it's so cool to see, and it's so cool to see just even through the lens of these screenings of how everyone is interpreting it and how the burlesque is different. I think a lot of it has to do with your audiences and who the audiences are in each city, and we kind of tailor to that. And there are a lot of similarities, but again, it'll always be a wildly different thing, and it's a really cool thing to just go to different cities and see what other people are doing. Like no shows are the same.
Yeah.
I got to ask, what would you say is one of the more, like, if somebody's never outside of Chicago, because we're talking Chicago, but what is there another city that stands out? Like even Tawdry and you, Tara, you said you're a performer as well. Is there a city that you're like, if you're going to be in burlesque, you got to make sure that you do a show blank? Where is that place?
Well, I mean, I'm
New
biased.
Orleans.
New Orleans.
It's New Orleans. It's New
Come
New
Orleans.
Orleans.
on. We have got some incredible performers down here. We've got Jeez Louise. We've got Kitten and Lou. We've got Vivacious Miss Audacious. We've got so many, I can't even name them. They're incredible performers. Queen Kwan. I mean, come on.
I think
just-
there's a really, I mean, I'm obviously biased with Chicago, but I love New Orleans as well. It's like my second home. And I think there's a really great connection between New Orleans and Chicago. Just that little Mississippi River. We
Yeah.
just kind of keep going back and forth, and it is kind of a similar
I-55.
vibe. It's very fun. It's very wild. It's intimate. And I think those are the kind of the things that very like theater driven, both New Orleans and Chicago.
Absolutely.
Yeah, theater driven and story driven, and also very audience driven. Like we're gonna get up in that audience space. That's very Chicago.
Yeah,
Right
New
on.
Orleans too.
But
Perfect.
so yes, I'm biased, and I'm gonna say both Chicago and New Orleans.
Yeah.
And New York too. I feel like New York,
Yeah, absolutely.
there's the contributions of New York in burlesque has been really great too. But those are the three cities.
Ladies, it's been absolutely fantastic to talk to you a little bit about this. Again, the big premiere is this Friday and Saturday. So it's coming up in a hurry here. 2 shows per night, correct?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And again, real quick, is there a website, one more time for the website for people to go to? They just want to learn about the performances and all that fun stuff?
Well, they can go to caroldodamovie.com or to the Landmark website and specifically select Century Center Chicago.
Awesome. Tara, thank you so much. Hot Tawdry, thank you so much. And look forward to the show and performance starting Friday.
Yeah.
Thank you.